Milfs Threesomes 4-pack, books 17 to 20. Written by Nicki Menage. Narrated by Kline. Downward-facing Doggy-Style. Milfs Threesomes 17. FFM Threesome Erotica. Julia practiced yoga in the living room almost religiously. Any day of the week, you could find her in there when she had the house to herself. She found the quiet of the house peaceful and saw no better way to utilize it than to practice in the lounge, looking out at the riverside from the large sliding doors that led outside. The calming voice of her instructor played over the television. Julia had done this practice many times before. As far as her 20-something housemates Jess and Christopher were concerned, their older housemate kept in shape through sheer magic alone. It was that day, though, that the both of them discovered how it all came together. Chris had been given the rest of the day off after a lost shipment of coffee failed to make it to the store he worked in. Julia was unaware of this, of course. She never heard the door close over the noise of her instructor as Chris arrived home. He put down his bag and made his way through the house. He found the silence strange, but he could hear the comforting noise of the television coming from the lounge. He was drawn towards it. He didn't say a word as he approached. Instead, he stood in the doorway and watched his mature housemate's strange ritual. He'd never seen anything like it in his life. He was aware of yoga, of course, but he thought it a practice that was reserved for people much more spiritual than Julia. Julia faced the window, unaware of Chris's curious eyes behind. She looked out over the river and split her legs wide. Then she bent forwards and gave Christopher a sight that he thought he'd never see. He watched, mesmerized, as her tight yoga pants pulled over her big, toned ass. He felt something stir in his pants. He swallowed, but he didn't yet say anything. He was too busy studying the curves of Julia and looking at the mound where he knew her pussy to be. Finally, Julia made it down to her ankles and held them with her hands. She sucked in her stomach and looked through her legs, noticing Chris standing in the doorway. She hadn't yet realized that he wasn't looking at her face. "You're home early?" She saw Christopher's eyes shift to her face.
"Yeah, they, ran out of coffee."
"At a coffee shop?"
"I know."
Chris stepped into the room.
"So, what are you doing?"
"Yoga," Julia answered, and she folded her body over again and gave Chris another chance to ogle. He didn't miss the opportunity. He was feeling something for Julia suddenly that he hadn't before. Despite their regular proximity, Chris had always considered the older, more serious Julia to be out of his league, or at least not interested. Julia wasn't exactly a saint, though. She'd seen Chris's gaze shift from her ass to her face when she'd started talking before. She knew he had wandering eyes, and she wasn't beyond teasing. At 43, it was nice to know you still garnered the attention of 20-year-olds. So Julia stretched her yoga pants across her ass again, and Chris took the opportunity to stare again. It was as though he'd stumbled upon a mating ritual of a rare species. Chris never normally saw Julia like this. "Would you like to join in?" she asked finally.
"Me? Now?"
"Why not?" Julia shrugged, and she paused the video. "Come work out with me. It might be fun."
"I don't think I'm any good at yoga."
"Who's good at anything their first time?" Chris thought a moment. "Go put some shorts on and come join me," Julia said. She stood up and faced him. "Be nice to have a partner." That was all the encouragement Chris needed.
"Okay," he said. "I'll be a minute."
He turned and walked upstairs to change, and Julia walked closer to the window and stared out. She didn't fully realize it yet, but a naughty seed had been planted somewhere in her mind, and it was steadily taking root. It started to branch out and grow inside her, waiting to be discovered. She heard Chris come bounding down the stairs and turned to the door just in time to see him bounce into the living room. It was hard to ignore his cock moving in his shorts. "Do you have anything looser?" she asked, tongue-in-cheek. Chris didn't make the connection.
"Just these, I think."
"Okay. Come over here, you'll have to use the rug." Chris walked over to Julia and stood beside her.
Sample complete. Ready to continue?